Hey, Shalom, Lord in Christ. This is the Israelite School of Universal and Practical Knowledge under Commanding General Yohanan. And we have been called to teach the so-called blacks, so-called Hispanics, and so-called Native American people that we are the lost sheep of the house of Israel. And with teaching our people that does come with a lot of responsibility. In addition to that, there are a lot of those out there that will give you false information and have you listening to men rather than listening to God. And the Lord says he has spoken by the mouth of his prophets. I'm paraphrasing. But as we know, or if you don't know, the wicked have inherited the earth. So you're going to have authorities on things that say certain things in their lives. And it actually causes you to break the law and further be removed away from God. And that's the reason why blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, we are in a state of decay from back to when we were in Egypt, all the way up until now. Well, we're going to get into that class in a moment. I'm going to just play a brief video for you. We did work through some technical difficulties. So Salaki if we have any problems, but we're going to get through it. And I appreciate y'all, joining the class. We'll be right back with you after this, after these couple of videos.
I'm going to keep it 50-50 straight.
Shout out ISUPK.
Let's go ahead. His watchmen are blind. His watchmen are what? Blind. His watchmen are what? Blind.
That's what need to be. That's what need to be happening. There need to be more black women loving their husbands.
Religion, if you serve any religion, you're serving another God. The word religlia is the Latin word that means to separate or divide. That's the root word of the word religion. Now, if you serve any religion that's not in the Bible, you're serving another God. There's no religion in the Bible.
It's that nonsense. And that's why he raising up his priests and prophets here in the ISUPK.
Shout out ISUPK. Classes all week, 7, 5, 9 p.m. The brothers dropping that knowledge. Get in class. No excuses. Don't see no motherfucking customer.
Always sip on my own. Don't need you all in my zone. Spend so much time alone while I'm riding trap on my chrome. Always sip on my own. Don't need you all in my zone. Spend so much time alone while I'm riding trap on my chrome.
Been out of these streets, nigga trying to eat while I duck police. Own family stealing from me. I'm on the phone being to pray, but white Jesus can't save me. Get him away from me. I don't know what to say. So many niggas hating me. Get him away from me.
Always sip on my own. Don't need you all in my zone. Spend so much time alone while I'm riding trap on my chrome. Always sip on my own. Don't need you all in my zone. Spend so much time alone while I'm riding trap on my chrome.
Always sip on my own. Don't need you all in my zone. Spend so much time alone while I'm riding around with my chrome. Always sip on my own. Don't need you all in my zone. Spend so much time alone while I'm riding around with my chrome. Trying to keep it on the true side, nigga. Laying low to play it cool now, nigga. Ass niggas on the team, I've been known to get the green ever since I was 2-5, nigga. Coop hanging out the roof, nah, nigga. Cause I ain't stunting on them. Put my whole team on so they ain't wantin'. When niggas doing bad, you know that they be hating on you. Get the hoping that you fall, they be waiting on it. Bullshit get bread from the envy. Best friends get to looking like enemies. When you got it in this bank account empty. Perfect recipe to brittle out of jealousy. Looking from a bird's eye view. Learn from everything I've been through. Told my baby girl, if you ain't spending life with the nigga, never let him put a dick up in you. Cause if a nigga wrong, I'ma check that shit. And when you paper long, never flex that shit. Told my son, when you getting money, never trick it to a bop and flip it over, then invest that shit. Give a lot of game, trying to bless my kid. Gotta keep it real, that's the best shit. Got hitters up in Philly, back in Texas. When I get up on the track, yeah, I wreck shit.
Always sip on my own. Don't need you all in my zone. Spend so much time alone while I'm riding trap on my chrome. Always sip on my own. Don't need you all in my zone. Spend so much time alone while I'm riding trap on my chrome.
Always sip on my own. Don't need you all in my zone. Spend so much time alone while I'm riding around with my chrome. Pour and sip on my own. Don't need you all of my soul. Spend so much time alone while I ride around with my comb.
Get down here to class, 1232 North King Street, Wilmington, Delaware.
Shalom, Lord in Christ, to my brothers and sisters, man. Y'all need to come down to 1232 North King Street, where the truth resides, man. ISUPK Delaware. We definitely representing doing some big things.
Delaware. 202 North DuPont Boulevard
That's
in
right.
Smyrna, Delaware.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Come and be a part of this rising thing that we got going on here in Delaware.
I hear everybody claiming that they love the Lord and love God and all that. Well, get in here and show it. You know what I mean? The scriptures say faith without works is dead. So if you ain't doing nothing, your faith is dead. So get up and do something. What you need to do is get your ass up and get in the class. You understand what I'm saying? You ain't doing nothing else. You're sitting home wasting time. Everything is going on around you, and you don't know how to compartmentalize these things. You understand? I'm on my way to class right now, like you should be. You know what I'm saying? Class don't stop for nothing.
All right, so we back in the building with you. Again, this is ISUPK, started under commanding General Yohana, and we teach Blacks and Hispanics and Native Americans that we are the true children of Israel. And one thing I want brothers and sisters to know before I go into this lesson is that there are a lot of things that you're going to see and hear about, and mostly it's going to be about war. There's going to be a lot of misinformation, that you're seeing. I watched an interview with Tucker Carlson and Vladimir Putin, and it was, a little bit hard to watch at first if you don't like, people talking and translating, because of course, Vladimir Putin was not speaking Russian. He was, he wasn't speaking English. He was speaking Russian. Somebody was translating. So it was a little bit, hard to get used to, but there were things that he said, and then you notice the media, and this is going to tie into what we're talking about today as well, even though this is the law class. But as soon as he had the interview, you see a lot of people come out from news stations and media saying that he's not a journalist. And to me, and this is, not something that I can say concretely, but it more seemed like damage control, because on both sides, whether it be Russia, the United States, Israel, even Palestine, there are certain amounts of propaganda that are put out there. But let me get you a verse real quick. This is Matthew 24:6. And I'll go ahead and just read it, sir. But this says, "And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of war." So for quite some time now, this has been a big thing with war in Palestine and Israel, war with Ukraine and Russia. And you'll notice the amount of money that's being spent. I just want to touch one more time on this because I spoke about this in my last class. Black people, you are never going to get just due from this oppressor. Do not go up against your brothers, the North American Indians and the Hispanics, because they're fleeing a country that the United States has destabilized. Now, I'm not going to go too far into that, but I went to my last class, which is about 14 days ago. Look that class up. I go into some information about that, but the death toll and everything that's happening, to switch subjects before we move on, is getting high. So you're going to see people doing crazy things, but don't have a spirit of fear. You need to have the patience and the faith of the saints that the Lord talks about. So Matthew 24:6 says, "And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of war. See that ye be not troubled." So don't be troubled about this stuff. There was an Air Force member named Aaron Bushnell who recently unalived himself by setting himself on fire at the Israeli embassy. That was an article that I recently read. That person was troubled about what's going on. He felt convicted about the atrocities that are happening to other people. We need to be honed in and holding steadfast to the atrocities that are happening to our people. Because this, Caucasian, oppressor felt bad about what our military has to do, what the United States military has to do with the unaliving of over 25,000 Palestinians, that man set himself on fire, and that causes death. But this says, see that ye be not troubled. We are not to set ourselves on fire. We are not to have the spirit of fear. For all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. These wars, these rumors of war, and even worse things are going to happen. Right now, if you look around, you have people that are sick. They can't even identify the sickness. The Lord gives us a time, a grace period to get ready. People are calling it different things. The 100-day cough, you ask a doctor about it, they may or may not know. You can test yourself for COVID. You can test yourself for, different things. It may not show up, but a lot of people are talking about being sick. But we need to hold steadfast to what the Lord says. Be not troubled. All right, that's all I wanted to say about that particular topic. This is the law class, and we'll be talking about marriage and other things, surrounding that topic. So one of the things that I notice is when it comes to many of the things in life, instead of listening to the laws of God that govern us, we listen to what every other man has to say about it, especially when they're rich. If a rich man says something about anything, if it's Steve Harvey, if it's who else has something to say about marriage, Oprah Winfrey, anybody, we'll listen to them. We'll let the fact that they have money dictate on how we perceive them and what they're saying, and that shouldn't be the case, especially when we can look at their track record and see that they, these different quote unquote gurus have been married, divorced, or never been in a successful relationship, let alone them being in a conventional, United States American marriage. So if I could get Matthew 15, 8 through 9, because what we like to do is we like to go to a church and we like to, say we're going to stand before God and give vows and do all these, traditional things that we see. But we have to look into it and say, am I doing what is according to the scriptures or according to God? Or am I doing what a man said? Is this a tradition to where a man made this up? Is this something to where it doesn't need to be done because it's just not of the Lord and it's a tradition of, some heathen nation that made this up? So, Salakia, whenever you're ready.
Come. Matthew chapter 15 and verse 8. This people draweth nigh unto me with their mouth.
So we talk about loving the Lord. We talk about we want to get married. We don't want to sin anymore. We talk about all these things. But read.
And honor me with their lips, but their heart is far from me.
Our hearts and our minds are far from the Lord in these churches, in these communities that we have. We're not actually honoring the Lord when it says honoring him with our lips. We're talking a big game. We're saying one thing and doing another. What do they say? Walk it how you talk it. That's a song right there that I brought up before in my lessons. There's other things where people say, well, put your money where your mouth is. Because talking a big game and doing nothing about it, that's sucker activity.
Right.
That's something that a man or a woman of God should not do. If you say that you love the Lord, then follow his commandments. Listen to what he has to say. Read the scriptures. Go to a priest and a prophet that actually knows the Bible. Not one that's going to give you misinformation. And then that preacher can't even hold a marriage, or he's giving you information that utterly destroys your marriage. Continue.
Verse 9. But in vain they do worship me, teaching for doctrines the commandments of men.
Thank you. So what I want to get to is the difference between the doctrines of men and the commandments of men and the actual commandments of God, because there's a difference in what man says and what we say. So if I could get Mark 7 and 9, and I'm gonna go over something real quick. So let's talk about marriage. So when we talk or think about marriage, we think about the common traditions that we have in the United States, as far as being, you know, a Black or Hispanic or Native American here in the United States. And one of the things with marriage is what? An engagement ring. And then you have wedding cake and all these things. But let me read you some things about these traditions that, you know, are different and counterproductive, costly, and go against what the scriptures actually say, because the scriptures are going to go into what you should and should not do. So let me go ahead and pull up an article real quick. And while I do that, can you read that other verse?
Mark chapter 7 and verse 9. And he said unto them, full well ye reject the commandment of God.
So rejecting the commandment of God, you would sleep with a woman, throw her away, sleep with a woman, throw her away, or a woman sleep with different men and then decide to go before God at some church that doesn't have God in it and let the United States government decide the terms of your marriage, when that has nothing to do with marriage in the Bible, let alone throwing away somebody after you sleep with them. Because what we'll find out is sex is actually marriage. When a marriage is actually consummated, that's when a man and a woman come together, and that seals that bond. Exactly. It shouldn't be a man sleeping with another man's wife, right, or a woman that, you know, that's married on the other end sleeping, you know, with a man. What it should be is a period of courting each other to see if you guys want to be together for Salakia forever, right, not forever, but until death do you part, as they say. And then you get together, because that person might not be the one that you want to live with for the rest of your life. All that soulmate stuff, love at first sight, you might want to check it. That could just be your hormones kicking up and getting you into some trouble. That's it. Continue.
Comment. That ye may keep your own tradition.
That's the wow. So let's talk about these traditions of men. So the ring, which is one of the biggest things that you can imagine, that ring costs people upwards of $5,000 to $10,000, depending on who you are. And then you have rich people that go ahead and spend an even more amount of money. And then the people that are, you know, have a lesser income, they make that the goal of what they want to go to, and they overspend. But let's see where rings actually come from. Absolutely. So this is from Discover Magazine. It says the ancient history of wedding rings. The history of wedding rings go back to ancient Egypt and Rome. So one of the things I've noticed with reading certain articles when it comes to different traditions is it ties back to Greece and Rome, some of the most disgusting and terrible places that we lived when we were in captivity. Exactly. So Alexander the Greek, right, he had traditions that are still till this day that he did. Yeah. And then you have during the Roman captivity, we keep these traditions. And guess where most of the time where they get these traditions from? They get it from Egypt, another disgusting place that this country is compared to, spiritual Egypt. So the history of wedding rings goes back to ancient Egypt and Rome. You're not going to find wedding rings in the Bible. Right? That's not something that you're going to find. So when you're spending anywhere from $5,000 to $50,000 on something, you got that from the tradition of a man, and it doesn't benefit you. You're probably just spoiling that woman, and chances are, since the divorce rates are so high, you spend all this money on your wedding. You spend it with people who don't have brotherhood and sisterhood. Those people, after you get divorced, you don't even talk to after a certain amount of time. So those pictures that you look over when you hired that expensive photographer, you're going to see people that you no longer even associate yourself with. That wedding ring that you purchased is going to be somewhere else, and you can't get your money back for it, because Zales and Gordons, whoever else, they're overcharging it. And as Kahash said, the woman who you married that ends up divorcing you, she's probably gonna pawn the ring. All right, so let me go ahead and just read a little bit of this so we can get back to it. So it says, marking an engagement or the big wedding day itself with a ring is part and parcel of many cultures today. But you may be surprised to learn that wearing the ring on the fourth finger of the left hand is a tradition dating back at least 8,000 years. Its practice, though, to stem from thought to stem from the belief that a vein ran from the finger all the way to the heart, the vena amoris. This idea is often attributed to ancient Egyptians. Are you hearing this? The reason why you wear a ring on your finger is because the vein runs from your finger to your heart on your forefinger. That's why you wear a ring. That's why you are putting a ring on there, because of something some stinking Egyptian came up with, and that it was stolen by the Greeks and the Romans. This idea is often attributed to ancient Egyptians, Greeks, and Romans, but the origins of the ring itself are obscure. All right, so let me go ahead and get something for y'all. Let's go to, let me see. Since we talked about Egypt, Salakia, let me go ahead and get something for y'all. Salakia, one moment. If I could, let me get Leviticus 20 and 23.
20 and 23.
Salaki. Since we talked about Egypt, I'll get Leviticus 18 and 3 first. 18 and 3, Salaki for that. But we are going off the tradition of Egyptians and Romans and Greeks, people who defiled the Lord's people who polluted the Lord's heritage, people who have had an everlasting effect on us and have been an enemy to God since the Lord said it. We need not to hold fast to these traditions of men, because these men are nothing. They're a drop in the bucket, as it is written. They mean absolutely nothing to the Lord in the grand scheme of things. The spit that's flying out of my mouth as I'm talking to you is worth more than these nations outside of Israel are to God. Leviticus 18 and 3, Baba Kashar.
Khan. Leviticus chapter 18 and verse 3. After the doings of the land of Egypt, wherein ye dwell, shall you not do.
So Salaki, if I could, wearing the ring on the fourth hand, or Salaki on the left finger of the fourth hand of the tradition, dates back at least 1,000 years. This idea is often attributed to ancient Egyptians. Can I get that again from the top?
After the doings of the land of Egypt, wherein ye dwell, shall ye not do.
The Lord will have time, for you in grace, but you need to decide who are you going to serve. Because right now, you're giving reverence to the Egyptians. You're giving reference to the Romans, to the Greeks, but not God. A people who I said has helped destroy you, and who their children plague you and oppress you till this very day. Continue.
And after the doings of the land of Canaan, whither I bring you, shall ye not do, neither shall you walk in their ordinances.
We shouldn't keep their ordinances. Like I said, these are the precepts of men, but God has laws, statutes, and commandments for us to follow.
Exactly.
We should follow those. Those are way better than wearing a ring on your finger because you think that represents the vein that goes to your heart and a whole bunch of hoopla that doesn't make sense. You're going to get a divorce. The people who you are around at your wedding are not going to be there for you. Your woman is going to read magazines and have her head twisted up, and she's going to want to be an alpha woman.
Damn.
And she's going to cause problems in that household. And either you're going to bow before her and let her be an alpha woman, or you guys are going to bump heads. Let me get another tradition from weddings. And this one is crazy because I see this till this day. If you watch videos, I used to when I see these videos, I'm like, why? Where did they get this from? Why would they do that? And doing a little bit of research, I see now why they do it and what they're doing. Let me see. Did I send it to myself? If I didn't, I'll just get it from the other article because it's a small thing that you guys can look up. I normally try to get a like a stone cold, like decent, what is it called?
Stone Cold.
I'm missing a word right now, but I normally try to get a good source, a good source to look at. Now, I'll look at other sources that may or may not, have, good information. But I do like to, sift through the sources because some sources are just out of pocket and they're giving false information, sometimes on purpose. So this is the Reader's Digest. So a lot of these that I'll read for us are supposed to be reputable, sources. So this says the hidden secrets behind the history of wedding cakes. It says, let me see where I should start. Wedding cakes have their roots in ancient Rome. When marriage ceremonies ended with a scone like wheat or barley cake broken over the bride's head for luck and fertility. These wedding cakes are coming from Rome, Kaash. Exactly. And have you ever seen these videos where they're smashing the cake in each other's face?
Yeah.
That's what this reminds me of. They are breaking this cake in Rome, in ancient Rome, over the bride's head for good luck. So we're carrying these types of traditions over till this day, whether they be from Greece, whether they be from Rome, whether they be from ancient Egypt. And it's something we shouldn't do. What's that first verse that we read?
18:3.
Let me get Matthew 15:8 one more time before I move on. Because these are all traditions of men. The wedding ring, the cake, and it means nothing. You go to the state and you ask for a marriage license as if this oppressor knows what's best for you when it comes to the person that you're supposed to spend the rest of your life with. And they know nothing. Because if they did know anything, they would have helped curb the amount of divorces that are taking place in this country. People are getting divorced at a rate of 50% of marriages by some sources. There's other sources that say less people are actually getting traditionally married. Because at the end of the day, when you have a man and a woman and they're volatile, sometimes they don't want to go before some state official, right, and get a license, because at the end of the day, they feel like they're going to be locked into something that they don't even want to be in for the rest of their life. And that's actually tragic, to sit there and just give your body to somebody and hold more important things that mean nothing than that decision right there. So, Laki, if I can get that verse one more time.
No problem. Matthew 15:8. These people draw nigh to me with their mouth and honor me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. But in vain they do worship me, teaching for doctrines the commandments of men.
Wedding cakes.
Commandments of men.
Wedding rings.
Commandments of men.
Going before somebody to get married.
Commandments of men.
You don't need a license to get married, people. You need to do what God said for you to do, not what men said to do. Because the last time I checked, the wicked inherited the earth. They told you that January 1st was the new year, when the new year is coming up in April, like the Bible says, or around that time, the month of Abib, where that's when the new year starts. And that reminded me, because that's around the time people normally have their wedding celebrations during the spring. I don't see a lot of weddings happening January 1st. It doesn't even make sense to start at that time. Let me get Daniel 7:25. We believe whatever this devil says because they have been given power over us. They have said so many things contrary to what God says, it just doesn't even make any sense. They say a man can get pregnant, They say a woman can be a man. A man can wear woman's clothing. They say a woman can just be free with her body because that will give her some type of liberal freedom to where she will be just exonerated of all just responsibility and heaviness. When in actuality, you're going to find out who actually helped to turn a woman's mind to this type of thought.
Come. This is Daniel. Daniel chapter 7 and verse 25. And he shall speak great words against the Most High.
So these oppressors, this devil, the devil that the Bible speaks of, which is the people that are ruling right now, it says, and he shall speak great words against the Most High. You ever heard the term, oh, you talking big-ish, right? That's what these people are doing. The Most High said around springtime is the beginning of the year. The oppressor says, no, it's in January. The Most High said, eating pork is an abomination to you. They said, oh, you can eat pork because Christ died so you can sin. Those are great words against the Most High.
Right.
Saying that a man can only have one wife is speaking great words against the Most High. Great. Saying that a woman can be unhappy and leave her man is speaking great words against the Most High. Because the scriptures say something completely different than what your pastor is saying, right? What these gurus are saying, and everybody else who has not an ounce of wisdom in their body. Can I get that again from the top, Salaki?
Yes, sir. Daniel 7:25. And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High.
He wore us out. We're to the point to where I can't even ask a sister a serious question about what she means about something without getting into some type of back and forth argument, because we're wore out. We're wore out spiritually, financially, and physically. Because imagine what we've went through slavery, 400 years. We don't own, as Black people, any of the patents for the inventions that we made. So instead of enriching ourselves and passing down generational wealth, you know what we're doing? We're letting these devils raise our children with TV, social media, cartoons, and everything else, while we're putting in 40 to 120 hours a week, not having time for our children, wearing ourselves out to where it's so bad in certain places that Hispanics would flee their country that's been destabilized just to come over here to be ridiculed by their own brothers and sisters and the very people who destabilized their country to get them over here to get slave labor out. We have been completely worn out by the suppressor who has spoken great words against the Most High. Salakia, continue.
Khan. And so wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws.
When you say that the beginning of the year is January instead of when God said it around the springtime, you've changed times. When you say a man can eat pork, a man can lay with a man the way he lays with a woman, and you say that's okay, those are great words against the Most High, and you have changed the laws of God, because you have fools that would actually believe it. Now, some people know they're doing wrong. They're going along with it because it justifies, the wickedness of their hearts and their mind. But others are actually foolish enough to believe you because you run the earth. Continue.
Come. And they shall be given into his hand until a time and times and a dividing of time.
That's not forever. That's it feels like a very long period of time. A time and a times and a dividing of times, but it's not forever. There's going to be a certain point in time where this oppressor no longer rules the earth, and you went against him, or Salaki, you went against the Most High and stood by him as he spoke these great words against the actual, true, and living God. These people have set laws and made times, but it's not going to be forever. So don't sit here and stand with this devil against God and think that there's going to be no repercussions. Now, I want to play something for you, but let me see if there's anything else I want to touch on before I move on. Let me see. So before we move on, we all have the ability, to have a general consensus on what marriage is, as far as what America says. Marriage with America is this. Normally, a man gets on one knee, says, "Will you marry me?" Does some song and dance, a surprise or something like that. There's an engagement ring put on the woman's finger that stems back from ancient Egypt and all that. Then there's a wedding ceremony with a cake. They're probably smashing each other's faces, that and forth. But in between that, they have to go and get a marriage license from the oppressor.
Right.
And that's what we had to do in slavery. In order for us to be legally married, we had to do that from slavery up until now. Let's get a definition or an example of marriage. This is Exodus 22:16. And let me see. Yeah, if you could read Exodus 22:16. Because let me see. Matter of fact, Salakia. Yeah. Genesis 24:67. That's one that gets right to it. Because we shouldn't listen again to what the oppressor's saying. We should listen to what God has to say. Who are we going to listen to? Men or God? God has the final say on every single thing. And most Christians like to quote that when something's going bad in their life and they get a diagnosis that they don't like, when they don't have the finances that they want, if they can't afford the house that they want. They'll say God has the final say, but not when it comes to the most important things. When God has given you the laws and statutes and commandments that you should be following. Right. When God lays down precept after precept after precept that is spoken by the mouth of his prophets. And then you just discount it and listen to what your oppressor has drilled into your head and your ancestors' head for 400 years. Yeah. Salaki, you got that for me?
This is Genesis chapter 24 and verse 67. And Isaac brought her into his mother's tent and took Rebekah, and she became his wife.
So let's see that part again. And did what with Rebekah?
Took Rebekah.
So when he took Rebekah, that means that he knew her. They had sex. And at that very moment, she became his wife. And he loved her. And Isaac was comforted after his mother's death. He didn't go to anybody else. He didn't go to the preacher. He didn't go to whatever oppressor was running whatever lands around there, whatever nation was more powerful than him, and say, "Hey, I need a marriage license for Rebekah." He was in that tent. He got busy, and she became his wife.
Did he get a ring for her?
He did. Kash had an excellent question. Did he get a ring for her? No, he did not.
Damn.
What he did was, according to the scriptures, when you lay down with a woman, she becomes your wife. Now let's read something, because right now we have a lot of our women who have been tricked by the oppressor. So let me see if I can find this. Let me see. I shouldn't have left that article, but let me see if I can find it anyway. Believe I sent it to myself. All right, I did. All right. So I'm going to play this. I'll play it as loud as I can, and I'll stop and break it down. But pretty much what this is Cosmo. I believe the full magazine name is Cosmopolitan. She may say it in the video. But this is a writer for Cosmopolitan, an editor that wrote certain things. And it has completely warped the mind of men and women as we know it today. And at the time that some of these things were written, and I'll throw this out there, but this is not a fact, but this is opinion. It wouldn't be a far stretch to think that some government agency had a hand in what Cosmopolitan or Cosmo did in this instance, because there was the feminist movement and there was some weird sexual movement going on at the time, and the government did not like it because it was a lot of hippie stuff going on, and they were against the war, and also women wanted to get paid as much as men. Let me go ahead and play this for you.
This movement and the sexual revolution were two radically different movements.
So she just said the feminist movement and the sexual movement were two radically different movements.
The feminist movement was fighting for equal opportunity for women in education and the workforce. The sexual revolution was fighting for all sorts of sexual freedoms.
So the sexual movement is fighting for all sort of sexual freedoms. You have the women on one hand who want equal pay because they're saying we have to go to work, we need to make money. Can we get equal pay like men? Sexual movement, they want to do anything under the sun, whether it be with laying with women laying with women, men laying with men. But these are two radically different movements that are taking place around the same time.
We pretended that this sexual revolution was a freedom for women.
So she's saying that Cosmo pretended that the sexual revolution was freedom for women.
The revolution was fighting for all sorts of sexual freedoms.
And I accidentally reversed it, but I'll let it play.
Pretended that this sexual revolution was a freedom for women. It actually was not. It was actually kind of a slavery.
Did you hear what she just said, this writer? They made this up. So today when women think they are sexually liberated, today when women think that they should do a slut walk or that opening their quiver to every arrow that is shot their way and they think it's freedom, it's slavery. You're being subjected to whatever that man wants and whatever your feelings are, whatever your emotions are, whatever your body and your urges are. That's a sense of slavery, not being in control of something. You're going to let your instincts, your animal instincts that are far beneath you control you. That is a sense of slavery.
Pretended it was freedom for women. And over time, as the sexual revolution and the women's movement got identified closer and closer together, a lot of women began to buy into that illusion.
Y'all gonna have to excuse me. Y'all see me keep drinking this coffee after the slavery. Not that type of slavery with that sexual revolution. I'm talking about a different slavery. So Salakia.
I wrote for Cosmo for about 20 years. I came out of J School, University of Missouri School of Journalism. I was trained very well to be a good reporter, and then I immediately fell from grace and started writing lies for Cosmopolitan.
So she was a good writer. She fell off and says that she started writing lies. She flat out said it. She started writing lies. She's a devil. A devil is a deceiver by definition. This is an oppressor talking about how, and she has a smile on her face. She even leans in and does this in the video. I wish I could show you the video, but we're having some technical difficulties. But she even leans in, and it's damn near like she's proud of what she did. This doesn't sound like a tone of remorse to me. She didn't say, look, I'm sorry for the women that I've destroyed, the marriages that I've prevented, for, lowering the morale and the morality in this country when it comes to men and women being together. Because what self-respecting man is going to want some woman that is willing to let all inhibitions go to the wind and just sleep around with everybody? That's not a good quality to have. A real man with morals does not want that at all.
I was fascinated with Cosmo, and I was fascinated with glamour and sophistication. And I always said I didn't want to be a big fish in a small pond. I wanted to be a small fish in a big pond. And Cosmo to me, was that big pond.
She's enamored with glamour. She's enamored with working for a big corporation, and she wants to be accepted in that. So she literally wrote for Cosmo and lied to women. She just says she took a sexual movement and she took a women's right movement and pretty much stifled it. Women are still talking about now whether the numbers are matching up and however much women get paid. Now, that's not the topic of discussion. We're talking about a woman lying to other women to make money and essentially to sell magazines, sell products, and some lifestyle that doesn't even actually benefit a woman. Cosmo also, and she'll probably get into it because I don't want to play too much of this. I want to get back to the scriptures. But they also presented some lifestyle as if a woman could have the best of both worlds, as if she could work 40, 60 hours, raise a family, and then still be with her husband. If you're working all the time, how does your husband benefit from that? How does your children benefit from that? I understand the man working, but the way the country is run, it's hard for a nuclear family to even spend time because both have to work. Everything's so damn expensive. The kids are running around out of their mind because things are being sold to us at the expense of our morality. I'm gonna play a little bit more.
Helen Gurley Brown was the editor of Cosmo.
So she mentions an editor. So she was a writer. She's mentioning an editor named Helen Gurley Brown. Helen is another devil that is lying to you women, or has lied and caused thousands of other magazines and publications to come out with more lies. Because this right here is just literally one of the starts. There's probably other magazines who roughly did the same thing, because I doubt it was only Cosmo. But she's one of the people who are the influence on why women are the way they are today. One of.
The one that took Cosmo and turned it from a general interest magazine into a sex rag.
It's a magazine to help this young woman realize dreams, hopes, ambitions, to help her find a man, keep a man, get him back if he's going, get a new one if he left.
Now, everything she said was an absolute lie. Find a man, get a man, keep him. If he leaves, how to get him back. Every single thing she said was an absolute lie, because the first writer that was describing what was happening already told you. Cosmo lied to sell magazines. They lied. Salakia, one more. Shalom. Shalom on Christ. Salakia, I'm going to call you back. Okay, the water. All right, Lord of Christ. All right, Salakia for that. All right, let me continue. So there's a blurb that pops up on the screen, and it says in the 1970s and 80s, the person that was speaking about, helping women with all their, finding a man, this, that, and the fourth. It says, Sue says Helen Gurley Brown gave her and other writers a rule book on how to make up details, how to lie, in their articles and columns. I don't even know how many articles they published about marriage and weddings and relationships, but they were all lies. It continues to say she still has the original rule book today. She's going to read you something from it.
Created a list of rules on how to write for Cosmo, and some of those rules included how to make up stories. So here's one of them. Unless you are a recognized authority on the subject, profound statements must be attributed to somebody appropriate, even if the writer has to invent the authority. Here's another one.
That's amazing. They would write stories and invent the authority on who was actually speaking to conjure up some expert. It would be if I said 20% of people, can grow an extra foot, says Dr. Rabaki from whatever medical profession. And that's just me making something up right there. That's exactly what they did.
Locate some of the buildings, restaurants, nightclubs, parks, streets, as well as entire case histories in cities other than New York, even if you deliberately have to plant them elsewhere. Most writers live in New York. 92% of our readers do not.
And I'll just stop right there. So we have to be very careful listening to men and women about what is good for us and what is bad for us. Because at the end of the day, if somebody just wants to sell you a lifestyle so you buy more products, because you're reading a magazine, somebody writes a story about this, that, and the fourth. Companies are paying to put ads in your magazine based off of how many readers they project you have, how many viewers they can get. They're just selling you products, ruining your life. There's something that is a term that's used in business, and it's called responsible growth. And this monster of a nation has never had that. They will spend endlessly on unnecessary war, unnecessary unaliving, but they don't have a dime for you or your family when it really counts. But they have billions and billions for everybody else. If I could get Exodus 22:16, or is that the one we read? No, Exodus 22:16, Bubba Show. And we won't be here too much longer. Let me see. I got it. No sweat. Actually running out of battery on this computer a little bit. No sweat though.
All right, come on. Exodus 22:16. And if a man entice a maid that is not betrothed and lie with her, he shall surely endow her to be his wife.
So this is not saying the common definition of what sex is. This is saying if he lies with her, she shall be endowed to be his wife. If you look up a dictionary meaning of what fornication or sex is, this, that, and the fourth, it is say people having sex before marriage, but sex is marriage in the Bible. You saw Isaac lay down with Rebekah, and that became his wife. You should listen to the Lord, and you should choose who you lay down with a little bit more carefully. It's not something that you can just take lightly, because men and women, you can end up with a monster in your life. You can end up with a monster in your life. Let me see. Salakia, give me one moment. You know what? I wanted to go a little bit longer. I'm gonna play a quick video to get our technical difficulty ironed out with this computer, because we had to switch computers. Let me see if I can get that for y'all. I'm gonna play a quick video and I'll be right back with y'all.
It's recording.
Okay,
Yo, I'm Desire One.
Officer Desire One.
Yo, I'm the Taza Pop.
And this is Captain Ariel.
All right. So we try to get that technical difficulty ironed out. I'm gonna go ahead and give a shout out to the chat. I'm gonna get ready to pass the class over to Priest and Officer Kaash. We got Kanai, Yahawah, Shalom, Yahawah Shamar, Alatham, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. We got Just Art and Paint, Shalom, Most High in Christ, it's the water for tuning in. We got LB, that's my rib right there, Shalom, Yahawah Shamar, Alatham, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. We got King Livingston in the building. I believe that's young man Kev. Yah Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai Barak L'Tham. We got Anah Bach Yahawah. Shalom, Yahawah Shamar Alatham, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. That is Rib, wife and property of Wanyala, priest and officer of 5,000, checking in from Austin, Texas. Most High in Christ. All right, so shout out to the chat. What we covered today, before I pass over to class, and Salakia for the technical difficulties. We actually had to use a different computer that does not is not allowing us to charge it right now. But when we are going through these scriptures, or when we are hearkening unto God, we want to remember. In Daniel 7:25, it says, "And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and dates and laws." We listened to some devil talk about how she wrote lies for a magazine, and how they took two different movements and put them together. How many of our movements have they turned into something else so easily? There was a time where they were saying stay woke, and that meant as a black person, be aware of what's around you and don't do the same ignorant stuff so we can get out of this hell we're in. Now the woke movement has something to do with the lifestyle, that the alternative lifestyle. We have gurus that tell us all these things about marriages, but they are not successful in their marriages. Women, I'm gonna give you, let me see the one I want to give to women. Let me see. Do not divorce your husband, women. Do not. I'm gonna leave you with this one. This is Romans 7:2-3. "For the woman which hath an husband is bound by the law to her husband so long as he liveth." So as long as your husband is alive, if you're married to him, you do not divorce that man. You pick that, you make sure, because you got the choice, sis, to have a courtship with a man to see if you want to be with him for the rest of your life. It continues. "But if the husband be dead, she is loosed from the law of her husband. So until he dies," to reconfirm that. "So then if while her husband liveth, she be married to another man, she shall be called an adulteress." Don't be with this man, leave him, and then go with another man just because the pastor said it was okay. That's not the way this works. So, all right, y'all. I appreciate everybody who logged in with us. We're gonna go ahead and wrap up this class. I'm gonna go ahead and pass it over to Priest and Officer Ka'ash.
Yeah, I'll turn this way.
Is it? Where's the? I'll just turn it for you.
This is the ISUPK security announcement. That's the rules for new brother and sister. When a new brother or sister comes into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They're to be saluted only. They're here to learn and set themselves of the world. If they need transportation, the teacher will arrange it. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, they're to seek counsel from the heads. Tithes, which is a commandment. Numbers 18-21. Malachi 3:8-10. Ma'asherah, which means a tenth in Hebrew. 10% of every penny of any increase the Lord gives you. A priest fund is a free-will offering from the priest. It's not mandatory. Whatever amount you would like to give. Upcoming holy convocations. It is the Passover will be our next month, April 18th. If any brother wants to be a trooper in the school,
So like, I think it's April 20th.
April 20th.
I'll check that for you. But yeah, April. I think.
Salakia.
No.
Passover, April 20th. If any brother wants to be a trooper in the school, he's to start wearing black boots, shirt, pants, headband, and scarf. And with that, men of Israel, a mizum, which means the sand. Men of Israel, a mizum Shabbat, a mizum, Barak,
Yahweh Hashem, Yahweh Shah Barakathum.
Yas Matzah, hands down, Sar, face the sisters. We'll give it to sisters a courtesy salute. Sisters, a mizum. Men of Israel, mizum Shabbat, a mizum, Barak, Shalom, Yahweh, Shamar,
Alatham, Hashem, Yahweh Shah.
The water of money. Dismissed.